So, Suicide Squad is a game I wasn't actually planning on playing and reviewing, but seeing how many people said it was a bad game, it piqued my curiosity. Now, superhero games and so on are usually not in my wheelhouse of games I jump at the chance to play. That doesn't mean I don't like them. The older Spider-Man games on the PlayStation 1 and 2 I have some very fond memories playing when I was younger, but outside of that, I really haven't played anything in those style of games and really have only consumed that kind of content through movies and some comics. So I feel like I probably have a somewhat unique perspective going into this game, considering I've never played any of the Batman Arkham games, or even any of the newer Spider-Man games, unfortunately, since I always hear how great they all are. So I don't have really any emotion in terms of being attached to the characters, or being able to compare to those games gameplay-wise, but I have played a ton of looter shooters and live service style games, so I have at least that going for me. And also, there will be spoilers for the game in this review, so you have been warned, which leads to what is always the most important question about the game I'm playing. Is it actually a good game, or is it really that bad? Well, this starts with the gameplay that features, as of right now, 4 different characters you can play as: Harley Quinn, King Shark, Deadshot, and Boomerang. Now, at first glance, one might assume they all play exactly the same, but they actually feel very different when it comes to what I would consider the main core mechanic of the game that players will engage with during their playtime, which is the movement system. Each character tackles it in their own unique way. Now, obviously, they all can jump, slide, shoot, and dodge, but their core abilities for movement are vastly different. Quinn uses grappling hooks to swing around, Shark uses his brute strength to jump vast distances, Deadshot uses a jetpack to fly, and Boomerang uses his, as you guessed it, Boomerang to teleport instantly. And it's all really satisfying using and mastering these abilities. Even their melee attacks can feel somewhat unique between characters, but not to the degree as the movement, which really is what steals the show gameplay-wise. When you get into this flow state of sliding, shooting, and so on, it feels amazing thanks to how mechanically sound the game is, making performing these actions easy to do. With that said, I didn't really switch too much between characters, even though throughout the story the game encourages you to switch up characters by rewarding bonus XP by using a recommended character for various missions. I just stuck as Harley Quinn basically throughout the entire game. I really wanted to fully level up and master one character to feel how that progression is from beginning to end, which honestly doesn't feel that great, or maybe the better word for it would be satisfying. Because as I was leveling up in Suicide Squad, I never really felt that progression or evolution of my character, which is funny because there are a lot of systems in place to help evolve and tweak your character to a certain playstyle. Guns, melee weapons, grenades, various mods, and charms are dropped in different rarities with a variety of perks or afflictions that are basically status effects like freeze or burning, and these perks and afflictions can be changed on your weapons using materials earned from doing various activities. So if I really wanted to go for a Venom style affliction build, it's super easy just to apply that all to my gear for that build, which can be done at your home base or out on the field on the fly with it costing some bonus mats. Then on top of that, you have these themed weapons that are designed around different characters with set bonuses. So with like the Bane gear, I get various perks for each piece I have equipped, up to 3 pieces. So there's this system of kind of optimizing your character around this gear, which is kind of what the endgame grind is all about. Then you have 3 talent trees that give you various buffs and perks to your character to improve their combat abilities, and they even unlock a few new moves like a finisher or super, and these each have 10 levels, with some levels having a variety of talents, but you can only choose one talent at each level, but you could switch or edit your talents at each of these levels whenever you want. Then once you hit the max level for one of your characters, you unlock squad skills, which not only improves you but everyone around you, and it takes into effect the total levels of all your characters. So as you can see, there's a lot going on here, and the game is very generous in what it allows the player to do with their gear, from customizing to dismantling for mats. The systems in place are decent, but not very rewarding. Well, not at least till the end game. Throughout the entire game, because of how generous drops can be, I basically never had to switch weapons because I already had some of the top tier gear that dropped from the start. So throughout almost my entire playthrough, I just destroyed the gear I got since I didn't need it. So I never really felt that progression of slowly getting stronger through the gear I earned in that regard, which sucked since I really believe that's what makes looter shooters so much fun to play. And this fun does come at the end game, thanks to these themed powerful weapons, but a looter shooter should have that progression from start to finish, where you're constantly having that excitement of getting new gear, not just simply at the end game, which leads to my next problem: missions. So the core of what you will be doing in this game as you progress through the story revolves around doing a variety of missions and side activities for various characters. So one mission you will be defending plants for Ivy, and in another mission you will be killing enemies to collect resources to deliver them to a van for Toyman. And by doing these missions you can unlock a variety of things from new afflictions to better crafting options or even cosmetics. Which this is all good. Problem is, it's all very repetitive. The mission designs are some of the worst I've ever seen. It's just so boring, and nothing even remotely feels unique. By the time I reached the endgame, I was praying for some variety, and no, the endgame does not mix up that variety. Outside of some modifiers that mix up the gameplay a little bit, you're just doing the same missions over and over again that features near identical objectives. It just simply sucks. You have gameplay this good, and you waste on having me just defend plants, vans, and whatever else. Like escorting said van. In fact, get used to the van because that van will become the main character of the game as you play more and more. Then on top of that, the enemy variety is dreadful. Outside of small variations, they are so unoriginal. It's like your basic armored enemy, sniper enemy, giant enemy. It's so disappointing. Like, at least try to make the enemies look and play more unique from each other, which they do kind of attempt to do with the hero-themed enemies, but still the same enemies basically when they stop moving and start shooting. It really is the biggest downfall of the gameplay loop of the game. And obviously this can get better with updates, so as the first season comes with new content here in a month, it will be interesting seeing if this game can really have any legs as a live service game over time, because right now, I'm just not seeing it with the available content and how that grind works as of right now in the end game. With that said, it's time we jumped over to the story side of things. Which, let me start off by saying, the characters are great. What I mean by this is the voice acting and the way they are portrayed through the amazing animations and motion capture is top notch. Rocksteady and the voice actors nailed this out of the park. When the Suicide Squad is interacting with each other, they really do gel so well as a cast here, and I absolutely love them. Unfortunately, as good as these moments are throughout the story, everything around it just really sucks for the most part. Like, up to the flashpoint of the story, it's really, really good. The build-up and execution was what I wanted to see through the whole game. But unfortunately, after the Flash, everything, while cohesive story-wise, just doesn't feel complete and really makes me wish they chose to approach some of the key story moments in different ways. Like when going to face the Batman. It seems like they really try to build up this moment throughout the game with him constantly stalking you or even being featured or mentioned in some missions. But when you get to that moment of facing him, the mission, while unique from the rest, and in general I didn't mind it, it could have had just a little more to it or substance. Definitely the boss fight. You never really get to fight the Batman, which I found disappointing. Then other characters like Wonder Woman or Lois Lane really feel like they were throwaway characters. It would have been so cool if Wonder Woman would have been an unlockable fifth character in the game that worked alongside the Suicide Squad, adding in this interesting dynamic of heroes and villains coming together for a common goal. Or if Lois Lane played a role in the fight against Superman with a cutscene afterwards, with her griefing over him, with them having a final moment. Just these little details could have added so much to the game overall story-wise. Then you have probably the worst final boss fight I have ever seen in a video game. Like, this is what you give us as a final, a rematch with Brainiac being the Flash. At least have him switch between all the different heroes with multiple phases for the fight. It's just so stupid. So overall, story-wise, while having top-notch acting and characters, the main story beats and key moments just fall a little flat for me because I feel like they're trying to lead into this live service model of storytelling, and it just caused the entire game to have all of these issues that just really are unfortunate because of how great the characters are as individuals. Now, as for performance, the game ran amazing. I played on the Xbox Series X and I experienced no frame drops. The only bug I encountered in about 25 hours of playing was where the final story mission didn't count as completing since the cutscenes before and after it didn't play. So I had to restart my game and redo it, and then it worked fine, which was really odd. Then in terms of a few other issues I had, the customization is oddly restricting. Like, characters have different bases you can choose, which can be edited. I just feel like all customization options, you should be able to mix and match them. Not end of the world, obviously, just something that would have been nice to do. Then obviously, with this being a live service game, you risk being kicked offline while playing solo. So an offline mode is a must, and it's shocking to me they didn't have it right off the bat. Then as for co-op, I didn't really play much of it since I was focused on the solo experience, but you can matchmake into other players' worlds or they can jump into yours, which seemed to work fine for me. No real issues. With all that said, is Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League a good game that I would recommend? No, because even though I don't think it's a bad game, for a $70 live service game, I can't say yes at that price. If this game was like $50, then I would be more comfortable saying, sure, go ahead and pick it up. And obviously, I do think some people are going to love this game, because at its core, it's a well-made game with great gameplay that's fun to engage with. But in terms of playing these iconic characters, I can't say I really felt like I was them, which is a shame. I just can't help but feel like if this was a single-player story, not focused on live service, it would have been so much better in almost all aspects, which unfortunately seems to be a common thing these days.